It's another business day. Time to do 55 minutes journey around the world of business. And here's what we have prepared for you. In Nigeria, the president has increased spending for 2025. It's now more than what it was. We'll tell you during the program. And in Kenya, there's a VAT now connected to seized assets on loan default. BRICS partnership, Nigeria's relationship with South Africa. We'll discuss that too. Welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We start business from the global space. Oil prices dipped on Wednesday as rising U.S. stockpiles and concerns about a new Sino-U.S. trade war fueled fears of weaker economic growth, offsetting U.S. President Trump's renewed push to eliminate Iranian crude export. Look at the numbers for this afternoon. It's red, 0.87%, but sustaining that $75 level that we saw about this time yesterday. $75.54 a barrel. WTI about the same drop, 0.84. $72.09. Oil on Tuesday traded in a wide range, with WTI falling at one point by 3%, and that's the lowest since December 31, after China announced that tariff on U.S. imports of oil, liquefied natural gas, and coal in retaliation to U.S. levies on Chinese export. Prices rebounded, however, after Trump restored the maximum pressure, what he called the campaign on Iran to curtail its nuclear program he enacted in his first term, which put Iranian crude exports close to zero. Now, related to that, but back home, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, they've sealed 19 illegal liquefied petroleum gas and Category D cooking gas outlets in Delta State. Category D LPG operators are those who refill gas from licensed plants for customers to collect from their premises. The NMDPRA coordinator in Delta State, Victor Ohudiasa, disclosed this to journalists in Warri, noting that the illegal gas outlets were sealed within the last 2 weeks. According to him, the outlets were shut down in Orerope and Warri, as well as other surrounding areas. Back to the global space, gold prices hit a record high on Wednesday, boosted by fears of a new trade war between the United States and China after Beijing slapped tariffs on United States imports in response to that U.S. duties on Chinese goods. Look at the numbers right here, a recovery from what we had yesterday. Yesterday we had a lot of red on this board. Spot gold is up 0.2%, but you notice that's sustaining the 2008. If I get into 3,000, I wonder what will happen in the next couple of months. So $2,848.69 per ounce. U.S. gold also up $2,879,000.70. Spot silver up 0.2. Everybody's up like 0.2 level. $32.15, and platinum 0.3. Palladium is the odd one out there, 0.9% in the red at $981.75 per ounce. And of course, we know that Beijing, the United States, and all of that, President Trump pronouncements and what he will do next are all feeding into this. Still talking about gold, total gold demand, including over-the-counter investment, rose by 1% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of 2024 to reach a new quarterly high and contribute to a record yearly total of 4,978 tons. Industry organization, the World Gold Council's the gold demand trends reports for the fourth quarter that they revealed this for full year 2024. Central banks continue to buy gold at considerable levels. Buying exceeded 1,000 tons for the third year in a row, having accelerated sharply to 333 tons in the fourth quarter, in the fourth yearly investment, and it's reached a 4-year high of 1,180, representing a 25% year-on-year increase. Gold exchange traded funds, the ETFs, had a sizable impact, with 2024 marking the first year since 2020 in which holdings were essentially unchanged, in contrast to the heavy outflows of the prior 3 years. The Council expects that for the full year 2025, central banks and ETF investors are likely to drive demand, with economic uncertainty supporting gold's role as a risk hedge. But on the flip side, keeping pressure on jewelry. So your jewelries may become more expensive in 2025. And now in Nigeria, we see that a lot of talks about crude and servicing the domestic refiners. That's what Petron spoke about. The Petron president spoke about when he was a guest on our sister program, Sunrise Daily. Today, Dr. Billy Harris spoke on that.
We must tweak our decisions to favor our domestic economy to grow is what excites Petron. Because at the end of the day, we 500,000 barrels per day. It's not even enough, because today what is estimated, and that's where I was going to. When you add the total requirement of Dangote, you add the NNPC refinery, you add Aradel, you add Edo refinery, add all of them. We are talking about, almost 900 and something thousand barrels per day. So why don't we work out a policy that is going to favor that? And then also look at how the OPEC, OPEC caps are also met. So for me, it's a very, very good decision that the federal government has done.
Then Bola Tinubu has raised the proposed 2025 budget from 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira, citing additional revenues generated by key government agencies. The president conveyed the budget adjustment in separate letters sent to both the Senate and the House of Representatives, which were read during plenary today by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. According to President Tinubu, the increase was driven by 1.4 trillion naira in additional revenue from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, 1.2 trillion naira from the Nigeria Customs Service, and 1.8 trillion naira generated by other government-owned agencies. Following the announcement, the Senate President has referred the President's request to the Senate Committee on Appropriations for urgent consideration. He assures lawmakers that the budget would be finalized and passed by the end of this month, February. With this development, the National Assembly is expected to fast-track deliberations to ensure timely approval and implementation of the 2025 budget. Needless to say, that will form a whole lot of conversation in the coming days, on our different business programs and other programs right here. You see how that may affect you. Of course, we know the reforms, the tax reforms are also coming on stream, I think by the second half of the year. So all of that will feed into it. Now, in December, the President Bola Tinubu, reminded us of the project Earn from the Soil as a food security initiative capable of transforming subsistence farming into robust, export-driven economic opportunities, thereby revolutionizing the country's agricultural landscape and ensuring national food security. Then in December, he emphasized the vision of his administration that by this year, 2025, since that was in December, he will position Nigeria as a leading agricultural export nation. Now, we have an increased budget. We're heading to be a leading agricultural export nation. But let's find out from players in the industry, at least in the export industry, if we're really heading there. We have with us in the studio Dr. Onyinye Okpa, the Chief Executive Officer of DGC Express Limited. Dr. Okpa, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me here. I truly appreciate this.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we're talking about our revenue. Well, the president is very optimistic.
Yes.
You know, that's why we're seeing an increase in our budget and all of that. And one of the drivers would be the non-oil exports.
Yes.
He says he has the vision, the administration has a vision of making Nigeria a leading exports destination.
Yes.
You deal in exports.
Yes.
Since the last time I spoke to some people in export, there were lots of, challenges.
Issues.
Are those things working out better than before?
Well, thank you so much for having me once more. The Bola Tinubu-led administration, I think they're really doing a lot trying to improve the situation that Nigeria has found itself in. The need for us to do so much in non-oil export, especially where it concerns agriculture. Nigeria has so much to give. For instance, just one product we have, which is palm oil, is capable of taking this country out of the present situation it's in. Presently, 1 barrel of crude oil is lots lower, the price in dollars is lots lower than palm oil for a barrel of crude palm oil. You understand what I'm saying? So if we put in so much into this export of non-oil product, and like the president said, if we put so much into agriculture, it's definitely going to take us out of where we are presently. For instance, our company, we've been doing a lot of export business roundtable. Presently, we're going to have one in South.
Yeah, but I mean, we've had a lot of roundtables.
No, this time,
we're talking of how to get this working.
That's why we're taking it to the grassroots. We have this company, like there's this company in the Southeast that is doing so much. To all the whole wards in the Southeast, they are giving them this palm, this Wilma tenera species of palm. And the target is this. For every local government, every available space, plant palm tree. You understand what I'm saying? Plant a palm tree there. And in between the palm tree, there is a lot you can still plant in between while it's still growing. It takes 24 to 36 months before it starts yielding. And when it's yielding, it will yield, when it starts fruiting, it can give you 45 years. And for every 100 hectares of land, you plant with, let's say, between 70 to 80 million. For the next 45 years, you're sure of getting nothing less than 500 million income.
If it was that easy, I'm sure all Nigerians would have been doing it.
They don't know. Most people don't know.
No,
most people don't have access
even those who are farmers at this time, some have had to. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. If it was that easy, I'm sure all Nigerians would be farmers. You need the machinery.
We need the machinery.
You need the seedlings.
Yes.
You need the fertilizer and all of that. Then, of course, top on the list is the issue of insecurity.
Yes, like I keep saying most times. The reason we have insecurity, most of these bandits and terrorists, where are they? They're in the forest. So if every local government decides that, see, we don't want any forest where somebody hide, and they take it out, or after all, federal government, most state governments pay traditional rulers. And these traditional rulers are in charge of a space. So if you call up the whole traditional rulers in your space and say, you know what, I'm giving you a mandate. I don't want to have any forest in your place. This. Then you call the local government and say, what does it take? How many, what do they call it? What's the machinery you will need to take down every available forest? Let it be communal farming. At the end, and the funny thing is, they are ready off-takers for all this product. So it's not like you're going to look for market for them. No. And then there are companies that are ready with their own funding to put into all these things. They're already doing it. They're already doing that in the Southeast. So there are people are ready. So for me, my suggestion is this. We're used to jamborees. We don't need jamborees anymore in this country. We don't need to have conferences and all these things where we just do jamborees. People waste our hard-earned, dwindling funds. We need to get serious this time because there is need for us to get serious. God forbid that we destroy this. For me, I call Nigeria the best piece of earth. Destroy this best piece of earth for the upcoming generations. It will be shame. It will be terrible for all of us that we live without leaving continuation for the upcoming generation.
So getting the crops is one thing, but the other thing is adding value to it.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, most of what we manage to export is actually in its raw form.
Yes.
And then we go back and buy the refined ones, where value has been added at higher prices.
Yes.
So I wonder if there are talks on adding value. I know that the lawmakers are talking about a law that is supposed to stop, at least you must add 10% value to any raw material before it is exported. I don't think that has gone through yet. But I wonder if conversations are going on among stakeholders.
Like for us as a company, our social responsibility, we've been sensitizing people on the need to add any little addition to any raw material is money. I give you, for instance, the same palm tree I'm talking about. If you take the palm kernel, you do banga soup, or for Igbos, you do ofaku stew, you eat it. Maybe you for a painter, you get it for, let's say, like 500 naira, 1,000. It ends there. But that same palm, if you now take it to the mill and you turn it to palm oil, you're selling it a liter for a higher amount, right? And then that same palm, if you now further process it, the product you get is amazing. You get biodiesel from it. You get carotenes from it. You get vitamin E. You get sterolene. You get olive. You get the kind of product you get from crude palm oil is amazing. And don't forget, everything about that tree is money. Nigeria used to be the first, but guess what? Malaysia and Indonesia that came here to learn from us, they are now tops.
And take our fruits.
They are tops. See, it pains me. It pains me so much. And that's why we go about talking, getting people involved. And we have even gone further. Like last year, I was in Walmart because I say, why do we buy other people's product and you cannot go to Walmart and you see made in Nigeria product? And they told me, do you have the capacity to produce this particular product you're talking about? And when I sat back, do I really have the capacity to, let's say, the plantain chips that is indigenous to us too? If they ask me, for every space they give you there, there's a particular quantity that should always be there. So do I have the capacity to service Walmart?
So that capacity, is it funding?
It's not funding capacity. It still goes back to this agriculture we're talking about. If every available space, we now say, okay, this is the product we want to be known, our unique selling product as Nigerians, and we face it squarely. And then everybody goes to cultivate it. And then there's a standard, there's a process. Nigerians, especially this export space, 80% are women. And when women get into stuff, they go the extra mile. So we are trying to put them together into groups where for any product, you get up to 20 people that can give you that finished product. And we've gone further to have the necessary things that each product should have for it to be able to compete with any product anywhere in the world. For instance, if you travel abroad, you enter African shop, the whole place is smelling. So the whole notion is food that comes from Africa smells. Why should it be like that? So even also, we have standard product that we were in Florida in October for exhibition. People were passing our products because they thought they were made in US products. So when they got to see, oh, these products were actually made in Nigeria, they were all shocked. And I know the kind of contacts and calls we've gotten since then because we have standardized our product for international market. And that's what we're doing now, teaching people, like the clinic, we're having export clinic to have one-on-one, to teach for free, to teach people to get to that standard. FDA registration that enables you to take out this product and all that. But still, there's still a lot that the government needs to look into.
Like
The stress. For instance, now they just said NAFDAC, they've introduced export certificates. It doesn't concern now. We're taking this to other countries. It's their own concern. It's their own food and drugs people that it should be concerned. That should be their concern.
But wouldn't it impact on our image as Nigeria?
The image we're talking about, if my product is standard, I have my international food analysis, the caloric content from a certified international lab. I have from a quarantine showing that my phyto certificate and all. That's what they want to see. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nobody is interested in looking for NAFDAC in US or any other place. So
I know exporters and I think manufacturers also came together to speak against that new.
The stress is a lot.
So on the one hand, the president is saying we want to improve our exports. On the other hand, it does seem that some agencies of government are making it difficult for exporters.
For exporters. And for me, the president needs to bring people that walk the talk. This country should be tired of people that just carry the portfolio, come on TV, come into conferences and talk. We are walking the talk. Sitting down here, we have an export terminal. So I can tell you sitting down here what an exporter faces from start to finish. I can tell you all that. And then I can tell you what we face the other side. So there's a lot. And then currently we're talking about African continental trade, free trade and all that. We're talking about that, but is there logistics? Is there logistics to move these items within the continent? No, there is none. Then the stress you face to take products from Nigeria to what is it called? The neighboring country here.
Ghana.
Ghana is too far. Just take it to Cotonou here. For every space you see every 500 meters, you're either meeting custom, immigration. Oh my Lord, it's stress. Meanwhile, once you cross over to the next place, you only meet one, and that's it. So a lot needs to be put in place. And for me, if the presidency can just gather people that are really walking the talk, we don't need to know the people. They just become that secret. There are a lot of people that are good in the country that can really push this non-oil export in the right direction. They don't need to come on TV to announce them. Just bring them in, put them down, and let them move this country forward.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Onyinyeokpa, Chief Executive Officer of DGC Express Limited.
Yes,
we'll certainly push that conversation on, and hopefully we'll get resolved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's take a break now. When we come back here on Business Incorporated, we'll head to the market, see what color the market is intraday. Join us again. Welcome back to Business Incorporated here on Channels Television. Look at the numbers at this time, see what's going on. Of course, we'll start from home and see a positive color for the NGX. And we see here, perhaps at this time, it should have crossed over to 105. I wish, right? So 104,933.94 after again 0.14% intraday. For Johannesburg is also positive. But let's stay in Nigeria for a bit. I was told that there's a treasury bond auction going on today. So let's find out what's going on there with Chuka Nwachukwu. He's a group head, arm and balance sheet management with UBA. Mr. Nwachukwu, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon.
So how's the NTB auction going?
Yes, like you rightly mentioned, we have a NTB auction today. Over 620 billion is on offer. Result is not out yet. We expect to get the result maybe within the next 2-3 hours. Last auction, we saw over 30 billion was offered, and remarkably 2.4 trillion was subscription, and then they sold about 712 billion. That particular auction, is a significant turn from what we've seen so far. We saw yield on the longer end, which is the 1 year, drop by 82 basis points. So today's auction, we also expect to see similar drop in yield. We also expect to see oversubscription, as well as see that the interest of investors is gradually filtering into the fixed income market. And so for me, the auction today is also going to be similar to the one of the last auction, where we see yield drop significantly.
Yeah, and then yesterday, the Federal Executive Council approved 758 billion for pension bond, to meet up with backlog and all of that. How does this pension bond work, and what are the opportunities available?
So basically, the fixed income market, especially the bond market, is the pension and the local investors that have been playing in this market, actively playing in this market over the past years, especially over the past 4 or 5 years. And so it is not surprising that the federal government is trying to clear the backlog as we are. However, it will not really affect the way the auction is being presented. There are two things that the federal government could do. They could issue a special auction to clear the backlog, or build it into the usual auction. And I think they're beginning to do that. If you watch last bond auction, you will notice that it was oversubscribed by almost between 80 to 100 basis points. And so these are part of the measures, and these are part of parameter in which federal government could as well clear the backlog.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chikanwachuku. I guess the bond is just another opportunity for investors, but I guess on the other hand, it's also another increase to debt servicing. 758 billion naira is what to be given now. But thank you so much for giving us insights on the fixed income this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's see other markets, other parts of Africa. Egypt is in the green, I beg your pardon, 0.05%, 29,648.01. And Tuesday's trade, thankfully for Kenya, we see a gain right there from 127. It's been holding on for some trading sessions, 128.96. That's Tuesday. Hopefully, by Wednesday, the close of trade today, we'll see at 129. Hopefully, and to get back to where it used to be, which is over 130. Now, looking at other parts of the continent or the world, Middle East at this time, yesterday was a green day for them, but today it seems mixed. Dubai is red, 0.29%, 5,204. Abu Dhabi, on the flip side, 0.05% in the green, 9,588.94. Saudi Arabia goes the other way in the red, Tadawar for Saudi Arabia, 12,431.79, while Qatar also follows suit, 0.09% in the red at 10,649.34. Let's head to the United States now and tell you that it was more of red for early trading today. Drivers mostly. Google, which is the parent of Alphabet, they posted disappointing revenue following a positive session for the major averages. Alphabet shares tumbled nearly 8% in extended trading after the Google parent posted a cloud revenue miss, even as it ramps up spending on artificial intelligence. So, of course, you can see that in NASDAQ. It hasn't recovered from the DeepSeek saga or episode, but Dow Jones, everybody seems to be in the red at this time. Let's get more details on trading for Tuesday in the United States with our correspondent Maria Bird.
The U.S. stock market had a bit of a challenging day as the president announced 10% tariffs on China. This announcement overnight on Tuesday had many concerned as the Chinese government responded immediately, putting tariffs on over 80 U.S. products. This is leading to a potential tariff war and also a trade war between the two countries. The president of the U.S. has stated that he is not eager to have conversations anytime soon. This could mean that there could be longer trade wars than once expected. This has many investors wondering to see if they will have impacts on the U.S. stock market beyond the immediate future. As the U.S. stock market on Tuesday showed a flatline in the Dow Jones and a bit of a dip in the S&P 500 of 0.2%. And the heavy-tech Nasdaq was also down at 0.3%. Investors are watching as corporate earnings reports did not come out as strong as once was expected. These corporate earnings reports are showing that there could be a bit of a challenge over the next few weeks in the U.S. economy. Many are still hopeful that the U.S. economy and the U.S. stock market could show the same strength it did at the beginning of 2025.
Yeah, so let's go to Asia now and tell you that there was a bit of an increase in the market indexes at the close of trade on Wednesday because it seems that the market wants to look away a bit from President Trump and the issue around tariffs. We know that China was on holiday yesterday. They are back, of course, today, and we have that retaliatory tariff coming from China. So we see the Nikkei is in the green at the close of Asian trade today, 0.09%, 38,831. The Kospi of South Korea also green. Then missed out, Hang Seng missed out of that. And then, of course, we look at Japan, that's up. South Korea is there. And then the country's consumer price index for January, we see is also a consideration for investors at this time. It went up 0.7 month on month and 2.2% annually, and that is more than what was estimated by some analysts. And so we see Shanghai in the red at 0.65%, while for India it's deeply in the red at 0.17%, 22,698.65. Now let's head to Berlin and see what's top on the news right there, or in EU generally. Yesterday we did talk about how they are preparing and gearing up for Trump's tariff slam. But now one of the countries right there, a major one, France, their new prime minister is set to face, I know Chip mentioned this yesterday, a vote of no confidence, pushing through a national budget without a parliament. I know Chip, good afternoon. You did talk about this a bit yesterday, the issue of the no confidence, but today, what's the update on that, and what can we expect?
Well, good afternoon, Ini. Like you said there, French Prime Minister François Bayrou faces a vote of no confidence today because he did pass that state budget without going through the National Assembly, and he did that on Monday. And he did that like his predecessor, whose term was very short-lived. So Bayrou had to do that because the government doesn't have a majority. And now the other parties can censure him with a vote of no confidence this afternoon. Now, to stay in power, the French PM needs the support of one of the two stronger blocs, and that is the left-leaning alliance, which includes the socialists and the far left, or the far-right National Rally. And the expectations are that the far right won't be supporting the vote of no confidence, and that's because on Tuesday, the president of the National Rally, Jordan Bardella, hinted that while his party doesn't back the budget, it wants to avoid uncertainty. So the French PM, François Bayrou, may be very well able to survive today's motion of no confidence, and France is likely to adopt a 2025 budget finally. And that, of course, could help its economy.
So, I mean, yesterday we talked about the issue of unity on the bloc and how, all of this tariff and all of that and can affect the unity and the economy of major players on the bloc. Now it seems they also have to consider political chaos, and I wonder what impact this is having on the bloc generally.
Oh, Ini, It has created a power vacuum at the EU level at a time when Europe needs to have its ducks in a row. US President Trump has threatened the EU with potential tariffs in a bid to balance his country's trade deficit with the bloc. Now that means that European leaders need to be able to put up a united front against Washington. Now, but the fact that France is dealing with its own political chaos leaves a vacuum in Brussels. And of course, it doesn't help that Europe's biggest economy, Germany, is also dealing with an uncertain political future, with federal elections slated for February 23rd. Now, the lack of strong leadership in both Berlin and Paris means that the EU may struggle to come up with the answers it needs on the world stage, especially with dealing with President Trump or even the war in Ukraine. And that space may very well end up being occupied by European leaders who enjoy friendly relations with the US leader, and that would be Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Hungary's PM Viktor Orban.
Well, it seems it's a continuous conversation, Chip, but let's head to the markets now. What's the sentiment there?
Well, European shares are stuttering, Ini, today, and we are seeing very mild gains and losses. And that is because markets are a bit confused over President Trump's proposal for his country to take over the Gaza Strip and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East after resettling Palestinians elsewhere. And of course, that has sparked rebuke from other countries, including Saudi Arabia. But it hasn't affected oil prices. And here on European markets, what we are seeing are different paths. The health sector stocks are gaining, following Novo Nordisk's stellar earnings, and tech stocks, which you mentioned earlier, of course, are falling after Google parent Alphabet disappointed with its earnings on Tuesday. And of course, Advanced Micro Devices also missed expectations in its AI business. So that, of course, hasn't helped the tech sector, which has been rattled by the release of Chinese chatbot app DeepSeek, which of course we can't seem to stop talking about. And of course, the auto industry has also continued its decline after Monday and Tuesday's losses.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot to stop us from talking about DeepSeek. We see the impact and blood on the streets everywhere, Chip, but thank you so much for that update.
Thanks, Ini.
All right, now let's head to South Africa. And it's a Nigeria-South Africa BRICS conversation. The chairman of the House Committee on Diaspora Affairs for Nigeria, Mr. Bamidele Salam, says that Nigeria's partnership with BRICS offers significant opportunities for economic growth, infrastructure development, and increased global influence. He believes that this partnership could bolster Nigeria's influence in international economic discussions and decision-making processes. He made these remarks during a special coverage of the Nigerian Community Town Hall meeting in Johannesburg, South Africa, hosted by Nigeria Citizens Association South Africa. A correspondent there in South Africa, Innocent Semosa, sent in this report.
President of Council.
Executive members of Nigerian Community Association and key stakeholders have convened to address pressing issues affecting Nigerians in the diaspora. Key topics on the agenda include police brutality, targeted Nigerian businesses, and the challenge surrounding permit acquisition.
We have the issues that are facing us, which are issues of our passports. And this is one of the reasons I am putting down a document that our honorable chairman on the committee on the House for Diaspora to go home with, that our citizens here are being frustrated because they cannot afford to pay for our national identity passport.
While Nigerians face challenges in the diaspora, the chairman of the House Committee on Diaspora Affairs Nigeria, Bamidele Salam, emphasizes that Nigeria's inclusion in BRICS highlights its growing role in global economic alliances as Africa's largest economy and most populous nation.
Excellent. You know, this issue actually came up in an earlier meeting I had today with one of the top government officials in South Africa here. And, you know, the coming on board of Nigeria means a lot of opening up of a bigger market. Nigeria is the largest market in Africa, the most populous black nation on earth, and a country with a very resilient, very productive, very innovative population. And I believe very strongly that with our involvement with the BRICS now, apart from creating a bigger market, we'll also be opening up a large part of the sub-Saharan Africa, especially the West African sub-region, to the international community. And then, Nigeria has one of the largest gas reserve in the world. In fact, we are like the third largest gas reserve in the world. And most of these reserves have not been exploited at all. I believe, and this is the future of energy, the transition is, towards cleaner energy.
Nigeria is a great country, and I also want us to believe in ourselves. We might be having challenges at this point in time, but I'm very sure and convinced that in the next few years we'll get it right. We'll keep on encouraging ourselves wherever we are across the globe, and by the grace of God, I'm sure that in the next few years, some of the challenges we're having will be resolved, and we'll get back there again.
Meanwhile, some delegates emphasizes that the real impact will depend on how effectively Nigeria utilizes the partnership to tackle domestic challenges and align with BRICS' broader objectives. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Well, thank you, Innocent, there. And we know that President Trump is also looking the way of BRICS. So, partnership with BRICS, is it enmity with President Donald Trump? I don't know. We'll see in the coming days. Let's look at other parts of the continent now. Cars and other assets seized by banks for loan default in Kenya will be subjected to value-added tax following a tax appeals tribunal ruling. In the landmark ruling, the tax appeals tribunal declared that value-added tax is chargeable on the disposal of seized assets, including the sale of motor vehicles through auction by banks recovering bad debts. The verdict comes after KCB Kenya challenged the applicability of VAT on such transactions, arguing that the process was part of credit recovery and not intended for profit-making. The tribunal, however, went ahead and dismissed an appeal by KCB Bank Kenya Limited against the Kenya Revenue Authority over a disputed value-added tax assessment amounting to 1.2 billion shillings. KCB argues that VAT should not apply to disposal of seized assets such as vehicles because the auction process is intrinsically linked to the provision of credit facilities, which is a VAT-exempt service under Part 2 of the first schedule to the VAT Act. And Zimbabwe's banking sector has approved a 10% wage increase for its employees in 2025, with the lowest paid worker set to earn $709 every month, while the highest paid will take $1,284. According to a collective bargaining agreement notice dated February 3, 2025, employers are required to pay 73% of salaries in US dollars. However, those unable to meet this requirement may apply for an exemption from the National Employment Council for the banking undertaking Zimbabwe, subject to fulfilling necessary internal conditions. The 10% increase includes housing and transport allowances. The agreement also resolves all legacy or disputed issues related to salary negotiations that remained unresolved during the second, third, and fourth quarters of 2024. So I wonder if that can apply to Nigeria. Well, I don't hope it does, because what that means is that your local currency just keeps losing value. I know Ladi will be happy with that, but I would not have it in Nigeria. Ladi, how can I pay you salaries in dollars in Nigeria? That's not fair.
No. It can't work.
No, and Zimbabwe has been talking about the valuation of their money and how they've changed their currency, how many times they moved the zeros and all of that. Why do you now come and agree
it just shows you
to pay your salary in dollars?
It just shows you that
currency can be a big headache.
It is a big
we've
headache,
seen that,
but
play out with most African countries.
I mean,
at this point, we're all struggling.
Are you
with
losing your
currencies.
independence to the United States? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah. So just you know what? Let's all just get our salaries in our currencies.
Yeah.
At this point.
Let's work on making our currency valuable.
Exactly.
And then we can comfortably get paid.
And it's this simple. Export more. Let's just export more.
Yeah, we were talking about agric export the other time. I hope
Let's stop being lazy.
I hope. I don't know about the laziness.
Let's export more, as a continent and as a country. Anyway, let's see what's playing out in the crypto market. At this time, we're seeing a lot of volatility. It continues at this point, $98,025. That's what Bitcoin's holding out. It's still a little far away from the previous high of about $108,000, $109,000. But we're seeing on the flip side, Ethereum's not looking bad, 1.19% up at the time of taking these numbers. XRP, that's struggling, 1.99%. Let's look at the headlines in the market now. We see gold recently reached an all-time high, surpassing about $2,820 per ounce. We know Bitcoin is seen as digital gold, but we're seeing, regular gold, doing really well. But digital gold still trading below $100,000. All right, let's look at XRP. They had a network downtime. That's the XRP ledger, about 1 hour XRP ledger downtime. That caused market jitters, with lingering concerns about, network stability. While the Ripple CTO, David Schwartz, confirmed the network has been stabilized. The technical damage on the price of the charts, that was evident there with XRP, dropping about 8%. Now we see Shiba Inu, they're securing a government blockchain integration. That's in the UAE. They announced this strategic partnership with the United Arab Emirates, suggesting, blockchain integration at the federal level. But it's quite interesting. It's a meme coin, and I guess this government is taking this meme coin seriously. All right, let's talk to Olumide Adesina now, financial market analyst. Hello, Olumide.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon, Olumide. So we've seen gold, hit a new high, even though it's been bullish, for a while now. Bitcoin too. Some would, say that Bitcoin as well has been, quite bullish, but a little far from the last high. And we've heard all that talk about Bitcoin being, digital gold. But, gold always has that safe haven appeal. But it seems Bitcoin doesn't have that.
Yeah, I think the verdict has been drawn on which asset has much better store value capability during the political uncertainty, and gold clearly is the winner. That's pretty much because institutional investors really find appetite, including central banks, find increased appetite, and you could see that at that point, gold broke the 2,800 resistance line. Unfortunately for Bitcoin, having hit 109,000, market pundits were expecting that a Bitcoin strategic reserve information would definitely bring the bulls rolling again. But we've seen that has not been the case. In fact, after the disastrous sell-off on Monday, we see that Bitcoin had been unable to maintain the 100,000 support level 3 times. So, Ladi, while you could argue that on the long term, Bitcoin has better returns, is much more easy to store, it's growing appeal among institutional investors, has high appeal among young people. It seems that traditional finance really has the win here in terms of which assets to hold during trade tariff issues.
But how do stable coins, come in here? Because, when you have a stable coin, it's less volatile, doesn't go up, doesn't go down, stays quite stable, pegged to the US dollar. Is that the safe havenness we're looking at in the crypto segment?
It also has an even capability. In fact, if you look at the fact that increased geopolitical uncertainty, particularly Monday morning, you could see that the dollar was hovering above the dollar index was hovering above the 108 index point. That pretty tells you that investors were also keeping their funds in the US dollar. Stablecoin, fortunately, most of them are backed with the US dollar. So probably you see that they also have that functionality. But the difference between stablecoins and gold is that you see gold has that institutional value. Central banks really transact with stablecoins. Central banks see gold, the yellow metal, as a good edge against inflation and the dollar's reliability. So it's really a point of how you look at it from different windows, but stablecoin definitely has a pie in terms of even asset fundamentality.
Right, and I guess that coincides with that announcement I got yesterday with the CNGN. I believe that was launched, yesterday. That's a naira pegged stable coin. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see the space expanding. Definitely we're looking at the fact that the industry is really expanding. Don't forget that USDT made $13 billion in 2024. I think that has gotten the eye of traditional finance that, wow, that's a money minting sector in the financial economy. So, unsurprisingly, you see different products coming in the staple coin market. Well, the jury has already been set. I don't see a dent on USDT in the long term, except we see what is happening in Mika, where many of these coins are delisted. So Circle has that advantage in Europe. But the odds are still on the hands of USDT because most people transact with the US dollar. And if you look at how the USDT has been evolved over the years, it's really very hard for you to discard them.
Right, I guess the appeal for CNG, and I guess you can use that for cross-border payments and also payments within. I'm guessing that should happen really fast. But let's talk about XRP Army now. How are they holding up with that downtime with the XRP ledger?
Yeah, the downtime really was, like we said, it happened for just 1 hour. And the good thing about the system was that it corrected itself. But that disruption really caused a little bit panic because if you know the functionality behind XRP Ledger, a lot of banks, including those in Japan, the ones in Europe, really are already considering XRP Ledger as a strong alternative to the SWIFT network. So that coming wasn't too good. But like they say, Ladi, things don't happen absolutely except on the blockchain. So it's really something that investors had little to worry about. XRP is staying afloat to 2.5 support level. It has done pretty much 200%, even amid market correction in the last 3 months. So I think it's a big winner in the Trump presidency.
Yeah, quite an interesting, development that we've seen for XRP. For the longest time, 2023, 2024 was trading about 50, 60 cents. It was trading like a stable coin for most of that time. But I guess the Trump presidency was a plus, for XRP. Well, thank you so much, Olumide Adesina, financial market analyst. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. CNGN is out now trading on some of the licensed exchanges in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I think the more interesting part of that is it does seem like regulation, acceptability from the government and the authorities is coming in.
Oh, yes.
And that of course will give more investors the confidence to go into that space.
And it's moving really fast in Nigeria.
Yeah, well, I hope it doesn't look like our AfriGold. Remember our AfriGold card?
Oh, yes. We had the INARA.
I hope it's not like that. All right, so that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated today. It's not over for the week. We have another one tomorrow and then the next day. So, but don't forget, you can always go to our YouTube channels for Business Morning, for Business Incorporated, and then you would see it. I'll see you tonight for the Stock Market Report.